Incoming.
All right, welcome back to From the Bunker. Eli here again. I got my awesome friend Weston Scott with me today, Marine Corps veteran, fellow mortarman, and you may have seen him on TV or somewhere before. So I brought him on because he's famous.
Applebee's, Chili's,
Yeah,
Walmart,
on Veterans Day.
yeah, anywhere that gives free refills or has a decent salad bar. That's
Yeah.
it. How are
So
you, buddy?
I'm great, man. So Weston and I met in a really cool way. It was I don't know what it is about Weston and his friends. Like I met his friends at his wedding, and Eric and I, who was on the show, just hit it off right away, just like Weston and I did.
Yep.
Weston is a vibe, I would say, and his friends are good people. So I'm rocking my All American Rider shirt. We met through an event I was putting on with them. We do
hmm
an annual ride called the Silky Slow Ride. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie, we totally copied the Silkies hike. Uh, but I was like, dude, no one's riding motorcycles in Silkies. And
Yeah. I was copied. You guys put it on like steroids. Like it's one thing to run in silkies and chase me's, but getting on a motorcycle doing 80, that's a whole different thing.
yeah, well, I mean, that's why we keep it on the side roads and call it the slow ride. But, I think we've hit the freeway a little bit one
I
time.
remember a few times where I forgot who was at the front of the convoy there, but just decided to open up throttle, and I'm like, there's gravel going up in there. That don't feel good.
Yeah, it happens. But so Weston came out to cover our event, which was really cool. And then we just hit it off. I don't really remember how it just happened. And then I was like, hey, dude, what's up? Let's hang out. And then that was back when I still lived in Southern California, and Weston, has his place out there and all that. And yeah, it was awesome. We've been great friends since. I think it's been 10 years now.
It's been about that. Yeah, it was. We were covering that event for all the different VSOs that were there, and you and I both share a love of motorcycles and being on two wheels, and like what that brings and the camaraderie you get from the people that you meet that love the same thing. And I
Hmm.
think it was just like it was a good time that day. Everybody was having just a blast, and you were like, there's people that come up to you. Sometimes they have an agenda, and there's other people that are just curious about what you're doing with the camera and everything like that. And then you were just straight up genuine and just like, hey man, what's going on? Let's go. And it just you can. I have a pretty good radar for that, like spotting genuine people and cool people. And you were referring to my circle earlier, and I think I've got a very eclectic set of friends that I'm very
Hmm.
blessed to have around. And a lot of times you wouldn't see those same group of people hanging out with each other, but I've collected them along the way, and happy to call them my friends, and some of the most unique, killer, badass, loving, friendly, you know, people that I've ever met. And you fall into that group, buddy.
We'll see. I guess I should have been figuring out that maybe I was an all right guy because Weston likes me and his friends are great.
For what it's worth.
So, yeah. But yeah, we've had lots of good times, and obviously we're talking about friend circles. I think, you know, just talking about that since it came up, it's important to surround yourself with people who make you a better human, like your shirt says. And
Sure. Which
if they
also
don't,
is a brand from another veteran. I don't know if you know Griff from Combat Flip Flops, if you've ever had the privilege of meeting that eclectic man and listening to him wax philosophic. Awesome guy. Met him along back in my We're the Mighty days. Came across him, had combat flip flops. Loved what he was doing there. Loved everything about it. He was, I guess, a few words that come to mind is like I don't know. He's got a vibe, as you mentioned, kind of
Mhm.
groovy, kind of just like a silent, artist slash could be a killer, but decides to be super chill and lead that way first. And then if he's got to do something to you, well, it's too late. But yeah, he has this other brand, Be a Better Human.
Okay.
Just right off the bat, like I already loved combat flip flops. I thought that whole mission statement and what he was doing with that company was amazing. And then when I started seeing him push this apparel and everything, I was like, that's kind of my jam. That's kind of like my mantra. Just try to
Mhm.
be a little better or leave the place better than when you walked in. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, buy it.
Dude,
Friends though, man, it's I mean, you know this. Think about all the friends that you made in the military, right? And it
mhm.
was the bonds and the stress and everything that you guys all shared. You might not be people that would hang out outside of the military, but it was those, experiences that you shared that solidified those relationships and bonded you in ways. And you guys could be the farthest, apart. I mean, I got some crazy other end of the spectrum friends, but the times that we've shared and the things that we've done, have just stripped away all the differences and then just made it like, all right, this guy's cool. This is somebody I want in my circle.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. It's crazy how comforted I am when I see my buddies I served with, whether I haven't seen them in a long time or, it's been a few months or whatever. Like, it's just a comfort level I literally don't have anywhere else.
It's I don't know. I feel like some of my other best friends that you've met are the ones that I served with, and
Hmm.
like I'll have those relationships the rest of my life. We might
Yeah.
not talk for a good 4 to 5 months sometimes, but when we do pick back up the phone, or FaceTime or whatever, it's right where we left off. And then, within a few minutes, they're ragging on me and I'm making fun of them, and it's right back to normal. I think that's what makes it great.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I had a couple. It's been cool to. I moved a lot, and being National Guard, you just switch states
Yeah.
and units, and but then you're there for a while. It's not like active duty where every couple years you're moving and stuff like that. And so you have some stability and time to build relationships and build your team because their guys don't switch out as much. And everywhere I've been, it's been a little different. And then my leadership role has gotten bigger as my time in service has gone along. Obviously, so it's been. I mean, what's that?
They've allowed you to have white hair now.
Oh man, yeah. It's it's time to go. Some you get those like crusty sergeant majors you don't know where they're at anymore. Like, nah, dude, I'm not gonna be that guy.
Be that guy. People, the National Guard and the Army, they need you, man. They need good people in there that have seen the past and then seen some of the stuff that maybe shouldn't be going on right now.
Yeah,
They
you
need
know,
people like you to stick around and just kind of like say what the difference is.
I'm probably about to get another knee surgery, and honestly, the focus is on what we're doing right now and my family. So I feel good about my time.
I don't know, man. You're so talented. I feel that you could do that and then open up a probably a successful Michigan brewery and then still do this
This
and
sounds
then
kind of fun.
still yeah, and then still have time to go after your doctorate like you're doing right now. So
I'm not going after my doctorate, bro. I, I won't even do. I won't even do my master's, which I probably should. I'm kind of that career level on the personal side where you kind of need it, and I'm like, oh,
just skip the masters, go right for the doctorate. I mean, why slow down? Just go right to it. You got the talent, man.
I get a doctorate in being a bro.
Doctor Bro.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
I'd cough for you. That's fine.
Wouldn't even turn your head.
What is this podcast rated? What are we trying to keep it to? Are we trying to keep it in a family friendly zone?
Oh,
Or
me 18 plus, dude.
18 plus.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
I mean,
18.
we don't wanna scare people from joining the military.
No, no, you don't want to do that. I heard the other day that I forgot what outlet was talking about it, but recruitment is up for the first time, and
Several years.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I'd like to hope that's not propaganda, but
No, the numbers definitely went up, after the election, whatever that means.
yeah.
So, Weston,
Yes, Eli.
let's, we like to hear stories around here, so I'm
What
just gonna
stories would
put
you
you on
like?
the spot. I'm gonna
You
put you on the spot.
put me on the spot, lead the way, and I will try to sing for my dinner. I will try to entertain you.
Yeah. So in a land before time when there was, no digital camouflage.
Right. In the woodlands? Is that what you're talking about? My woodland
Yeah,
town?
some nice tricolors, man.
Freaking best camouflage ever.
Kinda is. Kinda
No,
is.
it's not kinda. That's why after they retired that camo, one, they regretted it. Two, every fashion designer then started putting out civvy stuff with, the same pattern. So we
Yeah.
see like Tom Ford, camel pants for
Yeah, you don't really
$700.
see any digital camo
No,
fashion. Yeah, definitely not.
no,
But
that's the only place you see that is at the paintball fields.
yeah, so Weston gets out of the Marines and all of a sudden is like, Hollywood, here I come. And then there he was.
It was all right. So just okay, you got to go back just a little bit. I always like in high school and everything. I was big into photography, and at that time, like MTV was everything, right? Because I'm old, and so I would sit there and try to make music videos on the Super VHS camera because that's what we had
Sick.
back then. Yep. Yeah, and there was a few other like little mini eight, and I forgot what other formats they had, but everything was tape, you know.
Hmm.
And I loved it. It was like a video, it was video age, and I knew I was creative. I knew I like really was into it. My teachers told me that hey, you should go and enter this or you should do that with my photography, and didn't think too much of it. I was always big into movies, and I tried to think, okay, well, how can I make a lot of money, and what can I do? Because at that age, you're just like, in your very early 20s, you're like, oh,
Hmm.
I just want a job. Just want to make all that cheddar,
Yeah.
make all that money, whatever the kids are calling money nowadays. I don't even. They probably don't even call it anything. It's because it's an illusion. But so I try to do like a normal route. I started like looking at like medical, and I had like my nursing assistance certificate, and I was going, and at the time had a few connections to work in local hospitals in Michigan. Beaumont was one of them, which you're familiar with now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have, as I was finishing up school, college, I didn't have the chemistry score, the scores needed to kind of skyrocket me in that medical area. I was a little bit too whimsical. I was a little bit too, creative, always drawing and, thinking stuff. I excelled in other, the visual arts, but not that. So I had to switch up majors real quick. When that happened, I just said, you know what, I'm gonna do film. And if I make money or don't make money, at least I'm gonna be doing what I love. And
Okay.
so yeah. So I was inspired by like movies like Natural Born Killers and Hard Target, and some of the early John Woo stuff, The Killer. And when Tarantino came onto the scene, I was like, oh, that was it too. I already loved like Kubrick and Scorsese and Hitchcock and a lot of the auteurs. When the newer kind of pop culture, my generation of directors came on, I was like, oh, I want to make stuff like this. That was it. And I was working at my dad's bar at the time in Michigan. And there was a guy in the kitchen that had a brother that lived out in Hollywood that worked at a casting, agency. And I talked to him on the phone, and he said he would work me 1 day a week if I moved out, and that was it. I got a van with 185,000 miles on it, a Chevy Astro that had been hit twice and broke down about broke down about 4 times on the drive out to California. And I had another buddy whose brother lived out in Long Beach, and I slept on his couch. It was a three. I remember this like vividly. I can actually remember the smells. All like pretty much Midwest guys. There was three roommates, each had their girlfriends, and then there was like 2 to 3 kittens for some reason, and then all their street hockey gear. And then I slept on the couch next to bags and bags of street hockey gear and a litter box and like cats like doing NASCAR at night. So I would bounce back and forth between sleeping in my van and sleeping on that couch until I met another guy from Michigan, and Michiganders stick together. And
Mhm.
he's like, I'm looking for a roommate. That was it. That was my buddy Brad, who you've met before, Brad Thomas. And the rest is history. Just started hustling as much as I could to try to figure out, where I fit in Hollywood, which I never did, but, what work I could get. And then just
Mhm.
work my way up. And then that same guy, Brad, one day auditioned for a military movie. And he called me up and he's like, hey, man, come on down. They're looking for military actors. I'm like, I'm not an actor, dude. And he was like, you're also not employed. So I was like, touche, buddy, touche. And I remember going down. I didn't know what, I mean, I knew what a headshot was, but I didn't know what was all like back then. They used to staple like your resume to the back of the headshot, your picture. They would actually give it a tangible picture and a tangible like a paper printed out resume on the
Huh.
back. Didn't have any of that stuff. I went down, stood in line. I think I had like a skivvy, like a PT t-shirt on, some like old Levi's, and my grandpa's work boots. And I just went in, and that was it. No picture, no nothing, no card, no any of that stuff.
Just like,
And it
"I'm
just so
here, I'm a
happened
Marine."
that that was it. It just so happened there was a retired sergeant major that was working with the casting director. And I walked in and I looked at this guy, and I was like, right off the bat, I was like, oh, that guy's military. That guy, he had the high height still, like it was perfect fade. Like he met the perfect barber at the PX and never left. It was like the gradient fade, perfect. Chest from doing thousands and thousands and thousands of push-ups was out. Perfect posture, just standing there. Looked like
Yeah.
everything was pressed, but also purchased from the PX. Had uh, the web belt, but not the shiny one. The jeans that were just they broke perfectly at where his tennis shoe or his hiking boots started. So I'm looking, I'm like, this guy is either still in or, in his mind, he never left. And that guy was a retired Sergeant Major Jim Deaver, who would, till this day become, a mentor, a boss, a great friend, and now like an uncle. But
So
I
what
remember I
at
went
that
to
time,
audition.
what were you
Yeah.
trying you're not trying to act, you're trying to get into what at that time?
Dude, I'm trying to get into a job. Back then,
Okay.
just took whatever. It wasn't like there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't any of this shit where it was like if I did a TikTok, all of a sudden I had offers or deals. You had to pay your dues back then. It didn't matter that I had a 4-year film degree. It didn't matter, whatever. You started as a grunt, no different than in the service. And then I thought going out there, oh, I have a film degree. I'm talented. I'm gonna be a director, just like that. Started, mindset was on track, projecting. And it was more like you should figure out how to get coffee because that's what you're going to be doing. So I just wanted, when I went on that audition, man, I just at the time it was survive, you know. So it was just like I got to get a job, I got to make money. So if somebody asked me, "Do you shoot camera?" Yep, I knew how to shoot camera. I was good at it. As somebody asked, "Can you edit?" Yep, sure. And if I didn't know exactly the system, there weren't too many back then that people were editing on. Like I figured it out. If people said, "Can you assistant direct? Can you produce?" The answer was always yes. And it was like the same kind of like mindset. Like there's nothing I couldn't do. No different than like when that light bulb clicks when you're in. I think when you're in the Marines, like, and there's that point where you finally get it, like during
Mhm.
boot camp, where the light bulb goes off. At least it did for me, where I went from thinking that they were punishing me every time and I couldn't do anything and I wanted to like collapse to, wait a second. Every push up I do, I get stronger. Every time they freaking send me to the pit, I get stronger. I'm becoming invincible. I can do this. Every mile I run, the next one's going to be easier the next time I try.
One like I think you know, we once you're in for a while, like you don't let guys tell boot camp stories, but I don't care right now. So I'm like
Yeah.
the I think the point was, at least in Marine Corps boot camp, that's the only one I went to, even though I'm in the Army now. The the point was like no matter how well you did or did everything right, you still got messed up and everything went wrong. And I think
Yeah.
that's what prepares you for like combat and all the different situations is like whatever, everything's gonna go wrong, just adapt and overcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a mindset, right? Like once you realize that you can get through almost anything, and
Yeah.
you're being that your time in service, boot, whatever, everything that we do, right? It's like the whole if you if you're doing it right and you're trying to look at life in a positive way, and even when stuff sucks, you're trying to get the most out of it. You're trying to figure out the Mr. Miyagi and everything. You know, and I just applied that same type of attitude and mentality when I moved out to Hollywood and living in
so
a
so when
van
you
down by the river.
yeah, that's a good one. Our younger people might not get that, but that's all right. The
I'm over
so
people,
you
so it's fine.
so you go audition. I'm guessing you get this part as an actor in this movie.
No, they told me to kick rocks. They said you suck. Ryan Seacrest hasn't been born yet, but we know that you look like him already, and you suck. No, yeah, it was weird because they don't tell you this right there. I never That's the first audition I ever went to. The movie was Wind Talkers, by the way.
Yeah, I know that one.
I got called like 2.5 weeks later or so. I remember, and the casting director was like, "Hey, we liked you. Can you commit for like the next 4 months or whatever?" And like my mind was, and then when she said who the director's John Woo. It's with Nicolas Cage. Blah blah blah. I'm like, I was like instant like, and I remember hanging up the phone. It was like about 7:30 or so California time. Instantly calling Detroit. Instantly calling home and just flipping out to my parents, like, "Oh my gosh, they just asked me. I'm going to be working for 4 months, and it's John Woo, and it's this, and that." And I was a kid in a candy store, man. Like my dreams, came true right there at that day. And then the next like 4 months were amazing, because I'd never, kid from Michigan. Yeah, I went to film school and everything, but I'm in Hollywood. I'm around actors that I loved, and
Hmm.
it was just like so blessed, so cool. And then it went from there. It's not a typical story. I had my struggles with getting into the industry and on the other side, but with that, it was all because of another Marine that took a chance on me.
Hmm.
And then the next film that the sergeant major did, the next television show, he asked me back, and then that went on and on and on and on, and
Hmm.
we worked for years, and to this day, that's 25 years ago. So, and we're still working together. We talk to
Hmm.
each other weekly, and it's like having an uncle now. So, but I was truly, truly blessed because another Marine took a chance on me, and since then I've just tried to do the same thing or just kind of have the same mentality with everything I do. If I can get a buddy on another veteran, I'll do it. And so I've been very fortunate along the way to have a chance to hire a lot of veterans,
Did
and it's been great.
so yeah, so you're paying it forward now. I'm curious,
Yeah, you
what
don't stop
was
paying it forward, dude.
yeah.
We're
No,
not
for
supposed to
sure.
stop. Yeah,
One, yeah. I don't know too many people as selfless as you, and I think that's one of your best qualities.
no, it's dude. I've been blessed beyond belief from friends, family, and the man upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So many times, and a lot of times we don't remember that. And I think it's when I do that I try to get back and just like figure out, okay, let's keep this going, and just kind of remember, that I only have wants.
Yeah,
I have all first world problems.
yeah, no doubt. I feel the same. I feel the same.
Yeah,
It's
you
so
travel, you
I'm curious. So you get to be in
yes.
Wind Talkers. What was the gap between that and then getting involved in Attack of the Show on G4 TV? Like, were those pretty
Oh shit,
close together?
you're talking. No, you're talking years in between there, man. Got to
So
do a
what?
lot of crazy.
So you get in this acting gig for 4 months, and then but your goal is to be like behind the scenes producing and all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
what happened in between there, and like how did your career go?
Well, as I said before, I mean, it's a job. So I didn't turn down a job. Like the next gig that came up, I think after that, it wasn't right away for like the military acting or the
Hmm.
core group or technical advising type of stuff. It was I'm pretty sure it was a field producing job for a network, and so I did that show. I felt very fortunate to jump on that and shooting camera and field producing back in the reality days, and then
What is field producing to like all of us who don't know what that means?
so field producer in my mind, like on reality shows especially, is kind of like a director in the field.
Okay.
The field producer, you might have the producers back at the network or in the office or whatever that are putting together creative or administrative, or there's so many different facets. The
Hmm.
field producer's out there, he's team leading out in the field, he's getting dirty, he's making sure that it's happening. So he's much like a director when there isn't a director on a set or on a shoot. So, and back then, when reality, like, all these reality shows were popping up all over for Discovery and TLC and all these networks that have kind of dissolved or gone away or transformed into something else, they would send just like a one man band out. So picture you like with a rucksack, and we're going to make you carry an 81 tube, and then we're going to make you carry a box of MREs, and then we're going to make you carry everything, and we're just going to strap it onto you. So that's essentially the field producer back then. I would go, and to this day, I'm not sure that I didn't have devices on me that weren't like lowering my sperm count. I had like these strap this like all the sound equipment was on the front, like hanging low. I had a backpack. I had a camera running cords back and forth from the sounds. I was mixing while shooting, while field producing, and it
Whoa.
was it was great because it was like back then. It was like I'm still what I thought was a kid. I'm in my 20s, and I'm traveling all over the United States, for these gigs, and I'm seeing
Dang.
stuff. I'm shooting. I'm hanging, and
That's
getting
it's really cool to hear what that's like, because I think most people listening and myself like no clue what it's like to be on any kind of TV or movie set or anything.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
pretty cool.
I'm totally jaded now. I'm totally I'm
Yeah.
totally jaded. I'm like, I'm just gonna make furniture or open up a bar rather than be in this
Yeah.
industry. I'm
No,
totally.
I understand it more having like done security in the industry a bit, and so like I got a glimpse, right? Okay, so this is what's going on, but to like
Yeah.
really know what's going on, no, definitely not. So tell
It's
me what, yeah. So
well, I was going to
you're like,
finish that up, the bridge, brother, so I don't keep on cross talking here. Just went from there and just whatever gig came my way. And then, I was lucky enough every time the sergeant major, Deaver had a movie or a television show, pull me
mm-hmm,
in. And a lot of times with all that, like a good technical advisor on a feature film or television show, they're going to make sure that, you know, authenticity, writing, visuals, everything represents whatever's happened. If it's a period piece, World War II, they're going to make sure that stuff doesn't look effed up. They're going to make sure uniforms are good. And also, like a good technical advisor, like my boss will work with the writers, right? Like this is how they talk back in. They wouldn't say this. I'm sure you've watched tons of military movies where they put so much like jargon, like back to back in the same sentence, like, hey Tom, you got my six, good, because it's like, who talks like that? Nobody.
I get a, is there, do they, do they have to mess something up on a uniform, or is that just people messing up? Or is like, do they have
that's
to?
people, that's people messing up. So if you're shooting a commercial and you're using a I'm trying to I'm sure I'm going to get called out on this one. I'll give you examples. So when we're doing any like USAA commercials
Mm-hmm.
or Walgreens, if we had somebody that was still in reserve or active, and we were using them, trying to use like real service members in the commercials, you have to remove their patches, that
Okay.
give that. And this is like the PAOs will
Okay.
say this right to you, like you can't show this, you can't show that. So they're stripped down to kind of just like camis part of the time. You sometimes, depending on if it's a story about them or something or specific to that character or whatever, you'll see a name tape and you might see like part of like U.S., but you don't see Navy. You don't see.
Okay. But what I'm talking about, like their collars popped up, like no one wears their
No,
uniform.
that's just shit being messed up. That drives me insane. Or how about like the
Okay.
haircuts? Like
Yeah.
haircuts. Like what else is there? Wearing ribbons on the wrong side.
Mm-hmm. All that
Not
stuff.
every television show or movie can afford, an advisor or a
Mm-hmm.
consultant. They don't do the research, and so they'll hire, a wardrobe person, and the wardrobe person goes and shops, at whatever army or navy surplus, and they get stuff, and they look at like a picture, and then they try to match it up. They don't
Mm,
realize that I'm putting cavalry rifles on a marine, and then I'm doing
right.
it.
Okay. So yeah, I was, because there's always that like big thing going on. Like, do they have to mess it up? So the only thing they can't do is if the person's really in the military, you can't like show certain things.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
And
Well,
I've
we
gone
just
away with
solved.
a lot. Yeah,
We just answered some major questions that people have in the world.
I'm sure nobody's asking that.
Dude, every time I watch a show, I'm like, so one of my guilty pleasures that usually I hate shows like this, but I like Reacher for some reason, dude, on Prime.
Dude, you got a man crush on that boy. You got a man crush on the dude. You're like, I want to look like him.
I don't have the discipline for that, bro. But he's, dude, I'm like, I don't know why I like that show because there's so many, like, he's got like stubble the whole time and he's supposed to be a major, and the MPs are doing all this wild stuff
Drives
they
me
would never
insane.
do.
Drives me insane. And I've heard he's like the nicest, guy.
Hmm.
I think, you watch it in hopes that it won't be as cheesy as it is,
Yeah.
but you can kind of just let it play in the background while you do other stuff.
No, I'm
It's kind
invested. I'm
of, oh, are you?
invested. I
Oh, well,
think
bless your
it's kind
bless
of
your
like
heart.
when I was in high school, Smallville, like aligned with like it started my freshman year, and I'm a big, I like Superman. He's my favorite superhero. Even like that show was so cheesy, man. Those CW shows are real goofy, but It was I don't know. I was always into it, man. I had some Smallville DVDs in Iraq, and I like, oh yeah, dude, this is over in 2 days.
Burnt them out. You burnt them out.
Yeah, I had a little DVD player. Yeah,
Yeah.
old school days, man. You had to write letters.
It's weird, man. Everybody automatically thinks because of all the films, the military stuff that I've worked on and done, like like that's what I seek out, or that's what I want to watch. I just got lucky that that just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and another Marine helping me out, and it just continued. Like
Hmm.
uh, like when I got out of the Corps, I couldn't wait to get out and to get into film and to go and I mean after figuring out that I was going to go into film, I couldn't wait to start working on it. And it's weird. It's like I ended up through working all these military films and content missing that camaraderie, missing the core, missing that stuff even more, and then regretting maybe I should have stayed in longer. I said, but kind of come to terms with that. No matter when you got out, that you got out for a reason. So
Yeah, and if you would have stayed in, you probably wouldn't have done what you did and all the things
nope,
that you have going on. So, you
no,
know,
we wouldn't have met.
yeah,
You might
yeah.
not
We were
even
just
be
talking
born.
about that the other day. I mean, it's crazy how if you utilize it, like what the military gives you from your time in service, which is extremely challenging at times, it can
Yeah,
give you so much, man, so much.
yeah.
So,
You can hate on it all you want. It's funny, like while you're in, and then when
hmm,
you get out, I mean, you don't know. I mean, I think you'll feel this when you're finally done.
hmm,
I think I got out before my prime, which was probably why you know
you have regrets
I
sometimes.
felt like, yeah, I felt like every chance I had to like do any like schools or any classes or anything like that, like while I was, doing the on air stuff for like military correspondent or whatever, like I
Hmm.
just freaking balls to the wall and went after it to try to fill that void of what I missed, trying to kind of make up for lost times in some way, some school that I gaffed off when I was in, but after I got out, I'm paying attention to, like crazy.
Yeah,
And just to try to surround myself with, other veterans and or first responders and kind of like seek out that brotherhood that I left way too early, I feel. So, yeah.
yeah, dude. Random. I was gonna bring it up a little bit ago about like technical advisor stuff, right? So you get
Yeah.
into that. I didn't know it at the time, but good family friends of mine that like I just consider them family because I grew up in Southern California and my whole family was in Iowa. So I just kind of like got adopted into a lot of people's families. And one person who's a huge part of my life as a father figure, like, I guess he's pretty much more like a grandpa age, but his
That's
name's
a,
Don Anderson. And he was on like the original LAPD SWAT team.
oh, right on.
And then, yeah, and then he retired after he was involved in the North Hollywood shootout in '98
Okay.
with the
So
bank
you're talking
robbers, right?
riots and everything.
Oh yeah, a couple riots. Like when I was a kid, he had to leave the house and go to the '92 riots. Um, and then he was involved in the Watts riots. I think that might have been before SWAT, but like the Patty Hearst SLA shootout from the late '60s. Most people probably don't know about that, but anyways, he
That's
was a
way back.
technical. Yeah, so the shootout scene on Heat,
Yeah.
like rated maybe one of the best shootout scenes in the history of film. He was
Love it.
technical advisor on that.
That's awesome.
It's probably
I
because
think
he
we've
was on.
had that conversation. I think we've had that conversation before, and I was still hearing it again. I'm still, in awe. The execution on that scene, especially for its time. I mean, now
Hmm.
everything is
Now
attention
everything's
spans
tactical.
are yeah. Now it affects attention spans. Everything has to be, you know,
Yeah.
quick. But then for its time and everything like that, it crushed. It still holds up. Still an amazing movie.
Oh yeah. But I
Still an
mean,
amazing movie.
he's such a great guy. I think it's like a theme you find like when we had Eric on, like he's a bad dude, but he's a great guy. Like a lot of dudes who could take care of a lot of business are just
Yeah,
really great people, man.
yeah.
And
I think you see that when like they sniff out, as I was saying earlier, genuine can sniff out genuine, and like
mhm,
when they know, because guys like that, and Eric, by the way, I love him. That's another mentor of mine. He's been around in my life for since the G4 television days,
mhm,
and when I met him, and just yeah, obviously you have that bit of fear for a man that has his capabilities. He's
yeah.
like Neeson and Taken times 10. So he won't tell you his skills; he'll just show them to you. It's funny, like after knowing him for years, I remember telling my parents. I remember the first time I went overseas for a gig, and I had known Eric for several years, and I gave my parents Eric's number,
Uh-huh.
and I said, if anything goes sideways, if because at the time, people were getting, things taken in crews as these films and everything were going overseas, and some people were getting kidnapped and so on and so forth. And I just remember telling my parents, if anything happens, call him. Just call Eric and go, and just like tell him the last time, where I was. Here's this, and just and that was it. And for years and years, I was like, always, if something happens, call Eric. Tell
Yeah.
tell my wife the same thing. If something happens, call Eric. Of course, if something happened to me and my wife called Eric, she might get remarried. I don't know. To Eric. We always joke about that. I was like,
Uh,
anyway, I
he's
got to give him
smooth, dude.
props. Yeah, he's a great guy, super talented, in tune with the veteran need and
Dude, that
ethos.
that last
Yeah, I
book he
don't know.
just put out is so cool, dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you've read, which.
Yeah, we no, we went over that with him and yep, that's the one.
Yeah,
Make sure you buy that. No, it's so
yeah,
good. Like we were I love the he talks about like cold plunging. That I don't know, it's something I'm really interested in. I
yeah,
guess haven't put the time in to go buy one and I'm in that little kid phase with kids at the house, but shoot,
yeah.
my 3-year-old probably jump in it and get hypothermia.
That's one thing that, like, I expected a lot of. I guess I didn't know exactly what to expect. I thought it was going to be a little bit, like the fog of war meets Sun Tzu type of war with Eric. But then when it started going down, like, hey, here's how to better yourself. Here's self care, mental care, and everything. Like, kind of like the full like encyclopedia of what you might need and in how to deal with life after service, life in service, all the above. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, my man can write.
dude, like detoxing and all this stuff, super cool stuff, man. It's and he
I
keeps it
remember
really
when he
simple.
first got super dialed into the health and wellness and started doing his research and telling me stuff, everything from like the cold plunges to the fasting to
Hmm.
everything. And I was just like, all right, okay, cool. And at the time, I was just like, this is pretty hippie sounding for Eric. But like he was ahead of his time when he was telling me this. This was like years and years and years ago.
Now
And
everyone's all over it.
yeah, now, it's all you hear on Rogan. It's all you hear anywhere. It's like and he was talking about it and researching and doing it way before then. So yeah, kudos to him for figuring out the matrix.
I know. It kind of reminds me of a funny Instagram reel I saw recently where it's like your feed once you're over 35 and it's just a whole bunch of people in workout stuff. So I'm like, you can add more protein in this, and they like put a steak in a blender.
But that's the truth. My algorithm is on like all my social medias, and I'm terrible at social media. Like I don't post. When I was doing in front of the camera stuff for a long time and doing shows and whatever. I had somebody handling my accounts, doing like the PR type of stuff and growing my
Mhm.
account and being smarter than me, and it grew. Like when I stopped, wasn't on doing on shows, wasn't doing that anymore, and just kind of took time off. I never picked it back up. I was just like, I don't really care about social media. I don't really. It's like I post every 6 months or something
Yeah.
like that. It's
You're
terrible.
really good at sending memes and reels about 5 times a day, though.
That's okay. Yeah. Well, I
Behind the
will.
scenes.
That's
It's
my
where you wanna
guilty
be.
pleasure. Yep. Soon as I mean, it's bathroom time, right? You go into the bathroom, you're there for a few minutes. You're like, scroll, scroll, death scroll. That's funny as shit. I'm sending that to Eli. That's funny. Oh, that's endearing. Oh, there. Okay. And then you're finding the balance between, posts on the latest beer, some total fail where a guy hits his head, and then some, biblical inspirational like verse to
Yeah.
give, kudos to your. And I'm like, sweet. I covered all my bases. I did that
Dude,
today.
you know what's underrated? Actually responding to things people send you. So, like, while I'll go through like a week, I don't read anyone's messages, but when I catch up, I'm intentional. Like, I'm gonna go to the oldest first, and then I'm gonna go through and I'll actually like and reply to the ones you sent me, but it's like a week later. But like you
Yeah.
get those friends that like you send them stuff and they never respond. You're like, dude, I hate you.
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm trying to look right now to see like the last one I sent.
I probably have it on unread right now.
It's yeah. I'll go and purposely not look at stuff, and then I'll come back and I'll have a hundred different like hits from
Yeah,
stuff like people send me stuff, and I try to catch up, but I can't.
yeah. When you're on the John, you either got to be scrolling or reading Eric's book. One of the
That's
two. That's literally what
I
he said.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try. I feel like I bought the paperback book. I didn't like download or anything. So I was like, I don't want to take that into the sacred. It's like
Yeah.
the episode of Seinfeld where George takes.
Particles.
Yeah, you don't take books into the bathroom.
Dude, so tell us about your time on Attack of the Show, because like I remember watching that. Was that on? I swear that was on around 2010, 11, correct?
Yeah, we ended. I think it ended in 2012. Somewhere
Yeah,
right around,
because
right around 2012, somewhere in there. That's when all of the music died. And they turned G4 Network into Esquire, and
oh, that's what happened to it.
it was an amazing time. I had started off as a cameraman for them.
But they
I
realized
just
you were too hot. So you had to be in front of it.
no, no, not at all. No, they. I remember going out, and I had some great field producers working with me at the time. Several were already friends, and they did a what was it? It was like a gamers versus GIs versus gamers like episode. And I
Okay.
remember watching this. I remember watching this host. And I was a cameraman on it, and like we went and versus gamers, and they were putting them against each other. And I'm listening to this host try to talk to these Marines. I'm like, you just no, you don't talk to them like that. That just it's not. And then it just kind of like a light bulb went off, and I'm filming it, and then they're having me like order the Marines around, and I'm like riling them up and stuff. And I love seeing them with a bunch of young kids. And I was like, all right. And then when we got done that day, I just walked up to the producers. I'm like, hey, if you put me in front of the camera, you don't have to pay me any more than a cameraman right now, but get 10 times the performance out of stuff. And if you want to do any type of like military or police, I said, these are all my friends and I can get you access and we can do this. as long as we do it like in a cool, respectful way and like, really highlight them. And they're like, okay, we'll talk to the bosses. We ended up talking to, I think, the either VP of the network or something, and they got the green light. And my first one was like going up in a Super Cobra, and I got us access, and they were just like, and I remember that was the first time that I ever had done live television with, with other co-hosts, and they brought me on to talk about, what I had done. It was the first time that I had ever worked with Olivia Munn.
What? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Her and Kevin Pereira. I mean, they were the big shots. That was their show. I was just an add-on that got to do really fun, cool stuff. Kind of like watching. But Olivia Munn, the first time I had to work with her, I remember I had a line. I think I said something very quick and quippy along the lines of like, "She, well, what was I?" I said, "Well, it's the most fun you can have, with your pants on." I said something along like lines of that. And then Olivia, she was like, "Well, okay." And then she like simulated like she was going to go down behind the podium, like type of, and it scrambled my brain, dude. Like I was like so flustered because, she's attractive, she's great, that like, still is. And I just remember that happening. And I was like, all right, dude, reset, compose yourself. And then, I followed on my last time, but came this close to like losing it by her, pantomiming that. I don't even know what shade of red I was when that happened because she got me. She got me good. It solidified from that first segment on, another 5 years of being on the network and just living a dream. Like I had so much fun, great people, and I was getting paid to go to schools to do courses, classes, anything that they saw in video games that they thought was cool. They're like, we're going to send Weston to go do for real. We're going to go and that's how I met Eric Lawrence. He was with Blackheart International, his company at the time, the weapons company. And so we went out to Philadelphia, West Virginia, and we tested a whole cache of foreign weapons. And, you know, right off the bat, when the cameras were off, I just talked to Eric. I'm like, man, I love this. I'd love to do this, when the cameras aren't on. And it was like those moments and those people that I got to meet where they saw I was genuine and I wanted more experience. I didn't want to, I wanted the stuff that I was so in a hurry to get out of from the Marine Corps, being a mortarman. I wanted that. I wanted more schooling. I wanted to feel that kind of like bond and belonging again. So every chance I got, every school that I would pitch it. I would like, hey, can you send me to counterterrorism school? I want to learn how to get out of cuffs, throw knives, and jump out of cars from, ex-Israeli Mossad. I wanted whatever. They were like, okay. I just
Dude, that's cool.
I just did some of the craziest stuff and I got some of the best training at these courses and schools. Once they figured out that I wasn't trying to like make fun of them or anything like that, or I was like on the
You're just to
level.
sponge it up
All
and
I
have
wanted to
fun
do
and
was learn
show.
and just have fun. And there's just great people all the way around. And it was another path. And I got to go to sniper school. I got to go to counterterrorism. Tactical driving. I got to blow up things. I mean couldn't ask for more. Along the way, I got to work with more service members and make more friends who I still talk to today. And
Yeah.
it was a blessing. It was just I was very fortunate to kind of live that once again that kid's dream, like getting that first phone call to work on that movie.
Dude, I would
But yeah,
say it's especially like early in your military career cuz you did year 4 and got out. I did that active and I was like I'm not going to be in the military anymore and 6 months later I'm in the guard, but
yeah,
the like you don't realize it at when you're in it, like because there's so much BS and you maybe expected something different going in. And
Yeah.
then as I got older, I started being like, dang man, I'm getting paid to like shoot machine guns right now. You know how expensive that is to shoot a machine gun? And you can only do it in certain states. And then I'm like, dang dude, like I need to soak this up.
Yeah.
Like I think last April was probably my last live mortar shoot because I'm about to retire, and like I pretty much knew it most likely was, and I soaked it in. I was with some of my buddies I deployed with right before that, and I was like, yeah, this is probably it, man. And it was like miserable, freaking like almost freezing rain April in Michigan, but I was like, whatever. Like I'm almost
You're like,
done.
yes,
This
you're
is
like,
it. Yeah, I don't do that anymore, dude. I was running the range, but
really? You forgot your roots.
I don't forget how to be a mortar man. The dirty bird lives forever, man. But
Yeah.
I'm FDC now, so. But yeah, I it's pretty cool. Like you obviously realize that later, and then you get to do it on the civilian side, and like just because of your background, you end up in this position doing all these cool things, and yeah, that's pretty wild, man. Like
Super
that you
for
get to redo it and like appreciate it more.
Yeah, I gotta. I wouldn't say a do over because as a civilian at that point, as a media, like as a correspondent, going in and going to these schools, these courses, and everything, where I could be right next to a guy from SEAL Team 7, SEAL Team 6, whatever, and we just can't film him. He's taking the same course that I'm taking. How
Wow.
cool is that? It's like that's what was going on like with Eric, because Eric has trained some of, the most elite, around the world and worked with them. And as long as I showed respect, if cameras were going, we'd talk ahead of time. Can't film this, can't do that. This person can't be on camera. They're still doing that. Just, film back of the heads only. Over the course of my career, I've had like other producers that just don't get it. And they've been like, hey, man, what would be cool is if you film them going. I'm like, nope, not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say this to them. I'm not going to try to get this, shot that could be compromising or get it. Sometimes I've been given a lot of respect for that from my other peers, and other times it's like I won't play ball because I won't talk, shit about this branch, or I won't do this, or I won't do that. And so that's it. But that's how I've chosen to kind of like run my world, live my life.
Yeah.
We got there's enough negative and enough shit going on in this world where you don't need to add to it. You got to figure out how to take away from it, and how to make it better.
Yeah. All right. So next thing
Yeah, give me
was
that next thing.
that movie. What what was that movie? Was it the Article 15 movie? That's not what it was called, was it?
Range 15.
Range 15.
Yeah.
I saw that in the theater with my buddy I was in the guard with who used to be in Ranger Bat, and like it was a bit, dude, back then 10 years ago,
Uh
like
huh.
that was the beginning of the vet community, like Nick Palmachano,
Oh, those guys
like
are, yeah, those guys are great. They were way ahead of their time back then, and that was a long ass time ago. Like they were
they
doing what
started all
everybody's
this.
trying to. Yeah, I mean they were the godfathers of military, like social media, if you will.
Yeah.
They were the military streaming media, gurus, the original, the OGs.
Yeah.
So I was around, and it was fun to see all those guys before they became uber famous, and
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
all their compound bows and Rolls Royces. Nobody has a Rolls Royce, but that's right.
Dude, yeah. That was just so funny being it was exciting as so I was in my late 20s at the time and like halfway through my military career. You can dip on the show, it's totally allowed.
Okay. Yeah.
But we won't tell Dan.
Yeah. Oh, I get in trouble for this now. But
But
anyway,
yeah, it was a cool time to see all that blow up, man. Like I guess with what we're doing with building the bunker app right now and trying to bring veterans together and like I guess it really I feel like it was a thought process that those guys all started whether they meant to or not, I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty cool
I
to
I've been around all of them. I knew Evan and before just when he was a like super enthusiastic about coffee. I always, loved that coming from like a my background of a restaurant family in Michigan and
Mhm.
like culinary level excited about coffee and listening to him talk about it despite like all the other stories of, being like this badass kind of funny Jason Bourne type of guy
Uh-huh.
when I first met him. So I just thought that was cool. But it's funny to think back, and now he is where he is. And then I remember getting a call from Jared Taylor, from those guys. Like I didn't know who he was. I was just like, sorry, I don't know. I don't follow you guys. I don't know who you are. It's like whatever. But he liked G4. I think he liked a girl that was on G4, and he just like I just was like a good vehicle to get to possibly talk to that girl. So uh, one of my co-hosts from back in the day. But met him through another Marine, and at the time I was working for a company, We're the Mighty, which
Yep, that's when we met.
that's when I met you. And We're the Mighty was amazing. In its early days, I will say right off the bat, very fond of what it was early on and the people that work there and still do. It's different from when we started it or when it was started and I jumped on and that little first regime.
Mhm.
But it gave me another chance to work with a bunch of great veterans and then meet people like the ones you're talking about from Range 15, the Matt Bests, the Jared Taylors, the Roccos, the Evan Havers, the Nick Palmishanos, and all those guys. Just super stoked for them because they all took rocket fuel and continued something they already had that was great, and that's it. And still occasionally get drunk with them.
Yeah. Dude, so meeting Nick at SHOT Show back in 18 when we were there,
Palm,
just an awesome guy. But to see what he's done with Save Our Allies, that's freaking cool, man.
yeah,
And
him and
then
Tim.
yeah, and the he had Michael Cook who wrote Life and Death at Abbey Gate.
Yeah.
He his buddy who he met, during his deployment in Afghanistan, he's here with his family in Michigan, and
Oh, really?
yeah, and like Nick was part of that team. They had this signal chat going to get him and all these people out during the evacuation in Afghanistan. And he was on one of our earlier episodes. And I mean, his book, I couldn't stop. I did the audio. I couldn't stop listening, man. And like, it was so intense. And, the withdrawal of Afghanistan was a huge deal for a lot of us who spent a lot of time there. And then, yeah, I remember going to merging vets and players in Vegas when that happened because I was still living there, and just like all of us sitting in the circle.
Yeah, I've worked.
Yeah,
I've worked with them, and
amazing organization, man.
I love it. AJ Perez, that's over there, crushing. Love AJ. Looks like he's straight out of Metallica. Awesome
Because
vet.
he's in LA, right?
He is. He is. Yeah, and it's he's got a beautiful family. Just salt of the earth people, and then through. I think I'm trying to think of who I met first with that. I think I worked with Nate Boyer at We're the Mighty we did the premiere of uh, oh my gosh, 13 minutes. Is that what it is? Holy shit.
A third
13. Well, my version was 13 minutes, but yes, 13 hours.
the Benghazi movie, yeah.
The memory is going and it's going quick. No, here's the problem. 13 minutes is another show. It's another movie. And it was on the tip. Yes, 13 hours. I'm fact checking myself because people are going to talk shit, right? Um, 13 hours. We did the premiere over at the Cowboy Stadium in Texas, and like we or the Mighty was tasked with, I think like within 3 weeks or some ungodly, they were like come up with, fill the stadium for the premiere, and we went above and beyond, and it was an amazing example of like when different VSOs come together rather than compete and do something. And I think we
Yeah.
packed like 35,000 into that premiere. Some ungodly. Once again, somebody else will fact check me on that. It could be just my fishing tails getting bigger and bigger as I get older, but it was around there, and it was just amazing. And through that, I met Nate. Yeah, that's the order it was. I met Nate. I got to direct Boyer on a few things then. Back when he was not as svelte and he sweated all the time. He was on camera, and he he ended up becoming a friend, and we've traveled around the world doing stuff. And good guy, ambitious and talented.
When you helped on his recent movie, right? That you guys did for MVP?
Yes, yep, yep. He brought me on to that, and I got to produce that alongside of some other great people, and help direct, because he's in 85% of the movie, and he's the director. So when he's in, he's still, he's directing, but I'm sitting there trying to make sure what he's thinking is coming out, and kind of
Okay.
like a format. So I got to help with the direction on that, and great experience, And the movie, I'm really proud of it. It came out. I met some other amazing people on that. A good buddy of mine, Brock, was on there and helped produce, and it just, I don't know, man. When you're on a it's a lot like, kind of being in a good unit. You got the
Mm-hmm.
people that you just bond with, and you kind of get a set family, like because you're working so many hours with each other. I mean, an average set day is 12 hours, and then
Wow.
often the time you drive, you get ready for the day, like making sure everybody else is doing their job, and then cameras start rolling. Cameras will go for 12 hours or so, and then as a producer you're still around for another several if you're in the trenches. So yeah, if you break down the hourly on some of these, i'm sure there's I'm sure there's like, once again, bless. I have no wants. I'm sorry. I have no needs. I have plenty of wants. I'm sure there's some baristas that I'm competing with on hourly wage when you get done with it.
Yeah.
So, but it's good, man. It was another great project, and I really loved what the organization was doing. They brought in a lot of talented actors. A lot of veterans got to work on it, which I thought was great. That was always kind of like, what I try to do on every television show, anything I have ever done. If we have the opportunity to hire veterans, just hire veterans. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you, I'm not saying that all veterans are great, or, they deserve the job over somebody else. But if I look at them and I see them, and they got their shit together, or they need somebody to just give them that opportunity, I
Mm-hmm.
jump on it. I'll take a vet any
Yeah.
day and stuff like that, because they're not gonna at hour 16. They're not the ones bitching. If we go without chow, if we go without eating, and like we're into what they call meal penalties in the film world. You got some union guys and everything complain, hey man, we were supposed to break every 6 hours, and we're coming up on hour 7. That any of the veterans I've ever hired or that I've worked with and stuff, they're like, dude, they got Rice Krispie treats over there. I'm not complaining. It's like, so in my ideal world, I could form an A team, which I've had the opportunity occasionally to do. I've just surrounded myself with a few great civilians, and a handful of motivated veterans that want to be in the film and television world, and we just kick ass and have a great time.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
cool. It's so obviously Attack of the Show is definitely one of your favorite things to work on. I mean,
You're like, so let's go back 10 years again, and let's talk about Olivia Munn.
no, I mean it's like what are What's some of your favorite things that you've gotten to do and work on or whatever? Like not like necessarily name drop, but what's some of your favorite things that you do in your industry or have?
I mean, I've done a lot. It's funny when you work in this industry long enough. As soon as you jump on another gig, or as soon as you get like you start knowing, or you've seen this person, or you've worked with this person. There's
Hmm.
not too many sets I jump on anymore, unless it's a bunch of young kids that I don't know somebody, or we haven't worked on the same one. Oh yeah, I remember that time in Mexico. So I think, like, I'm trying to think of like what would resonate that your audience might have seen if we're sticking just to military films like that I've enjoyed, or just
It doesn't have to be, no.
some of the most fun I've had doing military films. I did a movie called Stop Loss, and whether you like it or not, or whatever, great time in Texas. And there's some big names on that movie. Because of where we are, you become like a set family. You end up hanging out at the same little small bars in the middle of podunk nowhere,
Uh
and
huh.
really bonding. And then that movie's over, and you might talk to each other or text each other for a month or so afterwards, and then you're on to the next. But Stop Loss was amazing. Had some great time. Worked with some really talented actors there. Jarhead, whether you like it or not, was still one of my favorites.
You
You
worked on
know,
that,
I worked on that. Yeah.
dude. I love that movie.
First day on set, dude. My first day on set, I thought I was going to get fired. Because it was such a big cattle call. It wasn't CG. Like there's a there's a scene where everybody's loading up on the planes, to head off overseas, and we had somewhere in the excess of like 450 plus extras, and I
Oh,
had like a sergeant major Deaver like assigned each one of think of like as like a drill instructor. Like he had like his three guys with him, and each one of us got like 150 extras to go
okay.
take and put over in this. And this is my section over here. I'm in charge of everything that's going on in this world over here. So if the camera turns over here, you better have these guys locked on and doing what they're supposed to be. Otherwise, it's no different than the military. Somebody's coming over, sergeant major's coming over and just chewing you out and asking you, why you're a banana head.
They just wasted a shot.
Yeah, and that's tens of thousands of dollars right there. But I remember first day on set, and you're trying to motivate all these background actors who are civilians for the most part, and like keep them in there. They're in the sun and they're on the tarmac, and we're just out there. And so, I'm telling jokes, we're doing push-up contests or everything in between takes to keep the morale up. I love, making sure that they knew that they're an important part of the movie, no matter, what their job was. They're there for a reason, and they're going to be
Hmm.
in the movie. But I had this one kid, everybody, I just heard this laughter like several rows back while I got everybody in formation. And I go back and I'm just walking between lines. I'm like, hey, what's up? And this guy's like, he's like, nothing. And I remember he had like several buddies laughing and diming him out. They're like, he just peed in that canteen. And I'm like, you did what? I go, did you just piss in that canteen? He goes, no, no, no. And I was like, okay. And then I went straight up DI on the dude. Like, I was like, everything became mine. I was like, you're in my freaking uniform. Did you just piss in that canteen? And he's like, no, no. I go, okay, cool. Drink it. And he's like, you want me to drink it? And because like they were supposed to be filled with water, you know?
Yeah.
And kid, he's like brought it up and he wouldn't, he's like, nah. I go, you pissed in it, didn't you? He goes, yeah. I go, you're fucking gone. You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. Get out of it. And I just grabbed him. I didn't even know if I could do that. But like I chanted something. And I was just like a dog all of a sudden. And I just
Yeah.
grabbed him by the lapel and I just dragged him through the line, took him up, and like everybody's like, what's going on? Why is Wes, why is he, yelling at himself like that? My first day. Took him
Wow.
up, get this guy off my set right now. He's gone. He's disrespecting my uniform. Everybody that served in it, he just fucking took a piss in his canteen, da, 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 and I'm yelling stuff. And the wardrobe people are coming over. Everybody's coming over to see what's up. And they're like, wait, what? Who is it? First of all, who's this West guy and why is he doing it? It's like, because there's hundreds of people. And I'm sitting there and I'm just freaking on fire. And I'm just like, MFing this guy and finger in his chest and everything like that. And I was like,
Knife hands.
oh, dude, I was everything that was in my quiver. I was knife handed. I was just everything that I called on from all the years just came up, and like Chesty Puller came in, and he was like, "Here, Wes, take my ass." I
God,
went
that's
off,
low.
and I just smoked this kid, and I was like, "Get on the fuck!" And then here come Deaver came over, and he's like, "What's going on?" I go, "This kid pissed in his canteen. Get him off." I told him I don't want him here. I don't want him. Anyway, go. I had to, and Deaver's like, okay, get back in line. Go ahead and take care of your people. And I'm thinking, that's it. Here I go. I was supposed to be on this movie for several months. First day, I had several of the wardrobe people and other crew members come up, and I believe even the assistant director afterwards said, "Thank you so much, Wes. Thank you for doing that. Really appreciate it. Those are our props. Those are things that they're renting and paying for and everything." I saw it as you're just respecting the uniform and everything, which the kid didn't take the oath. He didn't put it, but he was wearing my uniform.
Yeah,
So I took it personal. I went off, got a little hot headed, kicked him off set, ended up getting praised. And then I ended up working years later on one of the Transformer movies, and it was the same wardrobe people. And they go, "We remember you. You kicked the kid for peeing in the canteen." I was like, yeah, and thanks. I'm glad that's what you remembered me for. But it was a blast, ton of talented actors on that one. Got to have a good time. One of the things I was talking about, what a good technical advisor does, what Deaver does usually, if he can, on any movie, is he takes a core group of prior military advisors or actors and stuff, and he surrounds them around the leads.
hmm,
And at any given time, it feels like training wheels. It feels like that actor is safe, because if he's marching wrong or something, he can always look over, see what the real guys are doing, carrying the weapon the right way, everything that we just sort of like, and it builds confidence, and they get a better performance out of it. And I always thought that was a super smart way to, like a great business model, like as a advisor, to surround and then put on camera as many of the real stuff, guys as you can, so that everybody else, they can just do their job and you don't have to worry about you know
dude.
some
You
jerk.
know who does a good job? I don't know if you know the people. Maybe you do or don't. Uh, Terminal List, bro, with Chris
Okay,
Pratt,
great show. I love
top
it.
notch.
Yeah,
See,
I've
it's
met all those guys. I got some buddies that are on it, and
dude, yeah, because
I love it.
the you can knock Reacher right easy, but Terminal List is legit for sure.
Pratt
Yeah,
does such a great job with that, and the respect. One thing I love is like when an actor goes out of their way to make sure to give props to the service members, the real guys that are prior service that are working on them. And that's another one. There was several prior service guys, including Boyer and a few other buddies that were on that show. And yeah, amazing
I'm
show.
excited. I'm excited for the
Season
next
two,
season of that because it was so good.
yeah, big time, big time.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of moving parts that happen with every movie, every television show that you see, and especially the military ones, that you may only see two people on the screen right there, talking it out or arguing or, in a battle. But behind them is like a ton of people that if they weren't there, doing their part the right way, we wouldn't be enjoying that. So
yeah,
a lot of ingredients go into a great television show, a great movie. And just like you're talking about the Terminal List, which is one of those, like when they do it right, they do it right. It's a great show.
yeah. I'm trying to think of an. There's another one or two recently that were like on par with that, but guess we weren't really thinking about talking about that going into this, but here we are. So, but yeah, that's it's so
It's
cool. Like you to hear these stories. behind the scenes of things we don't know about. Like it's so interesting.
No, because
It's
I mean we're
fun.
looking at it as entertainment, but that's the jobs of all of these people, all of these different key elements to make a show good, to make a movie good. Whether it's a writer or an advisor, a great cameraman that knows how to capture it and keep us interested because the way they're composing the shot, all
Hmm.
these, so much work that goes into it that we take for granted because we just consume media nowadays. We just, I mean, and especially I look at like shows like Terminal and stuff that are like, top tier, right? And
Hmm.
then all of, the market that is saturated with like reality, BS that is just kind of like lower bar, and it doesn't
Hmm.
challenge the mind. It doesn't inspire or anything like that. It's like watching TikToks and
It is, dude.
yeah, there's too much of that and not enough of the good stuff. And I'm hoping we're going to see a change. Hollywood is taking a lot of beatings lately. It's I can't remember like the last movie I actually did in California. Everything else that is being made is made somewhere else, and they make it really tough to have one of like the most iconic places that is supposed to like make movies and television shows and make it so hard to make anything anymore. Nobody wants to be there, and that's why everybody kind of split. I'd like to see it
Yeah,
change because I got a lot of friends in California still, and I have my place there, and also in Texas, and but I'm also excited to see what Texas is doing. You got
dude. Who's that actor who's building the whole set by the river near Austin? The whole studio.
you talking about man, what's his name
He's
from
building it so
Shazam?
you can actually, as an actor, bring your family while you're shooting.
Yep.
That is
So
amazing.
that's Zachary Levi.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, like the Shazam movies or you don't like him and stuff. He's a fun actor
Hmm.
that can kind of play like a comedic part, but he can also play serious when given the opportunity. When I read that, what he's looking to do and to build a studio and to have it more family oriented, so that you're not tearing crews away from their families and everything that I read about it, like what you're saying, like 100 acres over there, and there'll be a movie theater. There'll be like kind of like a one-stop shop, and the people working on the film there, can also have places for their family to stay. And I'm just like, man, that's sign me
Dude,
up.
he's like strengthening the family unit
Yeah,
instead of creating a place where you're away from your family. And like, I guess it's kind of, is it counterculture? I don't know. I feel like there in our country right now, there's a lot of going back to traditional values because we realize, hey, those are pretty actually important. And it's amazing to see, man. Like, that is so cool. I was really blown away by that story, and I really like hearing that. So,
yeah. No, it's the stories that you want to hear about this industry, because there's so much negative connotation that like happens about this industry, and then not too many people I don't think have heard that unless that type of information is in their algorithm, right? Like,
hmm,
that's buried. It's not like being pushed to my knowledge. I haven't seen it like in too many of the major trades. But I think like efforts like that should be commended. No different than like Angel Studios or
yeah,
trying to
subscribe to
think of some
that.
of the other ones that are kind of trying to make sure that values enter back into our entertainment.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
so cool, man.
yeah, I mean, my mom always said, "Garbage in, garbage out."
Yep.
Lord knows to pay the bills. I've done quite a bit of reality shows over the years, and I don't think that I was ever enriched by any of them. Although some of them were fun.
Weston, weren't you? Didn't they make you run through American Ninja Warrior before?
Yeah, yeah, I did
I
that.
I gotta go 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was
It's got to be on you.
that was once again that was back in the early days of We Are the Mighty. And the concept behind We Are the Mighty, for the people that don't know it, like in the veteran community, David Gale had started, who had been over and helped make MTV Films what it was back in the day, and created the stuff that I grew up on. Like an awesome vision to create a new. I always said it was an awesome vision to create a new MTV, but the M being military, and then giving a platform for veteran writers, directors, producers, cameramen, all to come together and give them a platform to show their skills and then to put stuff out and to try to integrate that into the studio systems and from commercials to longer form projects. And it was exciting when it first started out. I was like for it. I was like, man, I'll drink the Kool-Aid. And
Yeah.
great boss to work for, and a lot of great service members worked for the company. And
Mhm.
like I said earlier, that's where you and I met for one of the things I was doing. But yeah, they sent me to film some of the Ninja Warriors over at the USS Iowa when they had done a service member. And I was like, hey, can I do the course? Can I run this? Can I see if I can, if I still had the minerals? And
Huh?
yeah, it was fun. Then I failed like on like the third obstacle or something like that because I didn't know the rules, and like I stopped mid in the peg thing. I'm like going through, and I stopped. I'm like, "Hey, am I allowed to use my legs?" And they're like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, continue." And then at that time, it's like as soon as your brain takes over, I was done. I had the physical ability, but then my brain got in the way, which
Dude,
is
I
not as
feel
powerful
that.
as my body was at the time.
That's like every day. You could ask my wife.
Yeah, phew. I'm trying to hold on to as much RAM as I can right now, and
Yeah. You're gonna be
as
team
much.
no sleep soon.
What's that?
You're gonna be team no sleep soon, man.
Yeah, that's on the DL. We're going to keep that
Yeah,
secret.
yeah.
That's secret information. We're not going to publicly say that yet. But yes, I will join. I will join the group. I guess of many that have stepped before me, and
Yeah.
then I will be calling on my friends like you and hey, dude, what do I do for that?
I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't know, you just survive, bro.
yeah. So that is another chapter that's coming up in my life that is scary and fun and everything, and looking forward to it. Very blessed, in my old ass age to be able to do that. It'd be great.
Dude, I just want you to realize that all your hard work to look young is working because you look way younger than me still. Even though you're an old fart.
It's okay. I can't be your dad. I'm not.
No.
I'm not that old, but I could definitely be your uncle.
Yeah, you know, I I've got kids 16 years apart, so you could totally be my big brother.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Let's
Yeah.
see. Hold on.
You give me like verbal noogies sometimes, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been a wild ride, man. And like I said, I feel very, very fortunate. I think that even when I thought things were tough or they, continue to, possibly be tough, I try to check myself at the door at that point and just be like, I'm doing stuff that is, the 20 something year old me like dreamed about.
Yeah.
All my goals, graduating film school and all the dreams that I wanted, direct something, produce something, like, do this then. So like everything that I had set, I've done. I mean, it never feels like that, especially in this industry, because it's like you do something great, this year and everything. And then next year, if you don't do anything or you're waiting for that next, it's like, it feels like you're back at zero and you're
Oh,
trying
wow.
to you never get there.
What have you done for me lately? It's like a sports career.
Yeah. It's kind of, it has that feeling if you let it. And I've tried as I've gotten older to kind of just take back and look at all the W's
Mm-hmm.
and just feel like and just go, wait a second, hold on. I've done quite a bit, and I've been very fortunate. I've seen this, I've done this, I've been here. Uh, I get to tell these stories, which are what makes it so great. Because at the end, that's the life experiences that we get and the stories that we pass on, and hopefully the examples that we set are pretty much all we have, and just what type of person you are, and how people remember you. That's what.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all just a blip, and all you can do is try to help the people around you in your time here, and love your neighbor, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, yeah, super simple things you would think, you know, 10 commandments that
Look, yeah.
seem like you should be able to follow them, but how far do we fall away on a daily basis? But the great thing is that if we're lucky enough, we get the next day to start over and to try to be better each day, and that's it. And I don't know.
I
I feel
feel
like I
I
just
feel like we've come full circle in this
yeah,
episode, and it's all because of
yeah,
your t-shirt.
yeah. Be a better human. I can't. That's like I was telling Griff. I'm like I want to be. I want to be the spokesperson for that. I don't think that. I don't know how serious he ever took me saying that, but I was like, that's such a good motto. It's like a, and I wear this T-shirt like every chance I get, every set I've been on.
Hmm.
I take it, and I try not to wear it, 2 days in a row. But I'll rock it, and somebody will always come up, and hey, what is that? And I'm like, oh, it's my buddy's brand. Blah, blah, spread a little bit. If somebody stops and talks for a second, or it changes maybe just like a little bit of their mindset, or engages conversation in a positive way, where they can take something of it or put a different thought in it,
Hmm.
I'm great. So we need more of that.
Dude, I love it. And at Bunker Bros, we're here to bring awareness to amazing organizations and companies and everything like that are veteran owned and all that. So like we're talking about be a better human, right? We're talking about combat flip flops and merging vets and players. We talked about them today. Like I miss that a lot. I wish there was one out here in Michigan. So if you
Oh,
guys
there's
are listening,
yeah. I got to get you hooked. Yeah, I think you've already talked to Ian Perry, one
yep.
of my best friends. That you met at my wedding and stuff like that. Killer. He's doing tons of advocacy right now to help, and instill preventative measures and to help out in veteran suicide.
Hmm.
And couldn't be more proud of him and his efforts in leading it in Michigan, and working towards a national level. I mean, that's obviously, sometimes it feels like somebody's being a dead horse. All you hear is veteran suicide, stop veteran suicide, stop this. Da, da, da. It's like, are we pushing that all veterans are broken, or are we, helping in a mental health capacity? So I
When
think
we're
there's a fine line in how we preach this gospel and
yeah,
how we could lend a hand. And I think it's much like Bunker Bros, like the ability for communication, talk, or to be that ear, that shoulder, that helping hand, or whatever you can. It's our responsibility
yeah.
on a
So
regular.
yeah, anyone listening, we've gotten here. Hopefully you've seen it. If you haven't, we're building a social media app that is exclusive to veterans. You'll be verified as a veteran before you can even join, and you'll be able to hit the red flare and alert other veterans near you that you're in crisis. Right now, we are taking donations to build this and looking for funding. So anyone who's listening and wants to get involved, we're looking to change the veteran landscape so you can find other veterans near you, and iron sharpens iron, so we're here to help each other and point out positive things in the veteran community. And while veteran suicide's very high, it is we don't want to it's like a negative connotation, and we're tired of that. And you know I say this almost every episode, but we have a particular set of skills being veterans and having been taught to overcome any challenge in front of us, and you need to grab
Yeah,
onto that and find out the way to overcome when you're kind of beaten down and feeling like you don't fit in or facing all these challenges. I mean, I'm almost 40. I've got 20 years in the military, most of it being part-time, but like, you know people at all different ages and types of service have different challenges when you leave the military because you're taught to do all these things. I saw a really interesting post about today, about how veterans go from 0 to 100 real quick because we're trained to do that. We have to be able to
Yeah.
do that. But then you don't know
Yeah.
how to like turn that off.
Right.
Yeah, like just having each other around and talking about these things and then finding a way to move forward and, complete the mission of like executing your life in the most positive and impactful way and not being a pity party, man. Like, so yeah, I really like that, kind of what you're talking about there.
And if I could throw in anything else, if you're kicking me off the platform here and you want to go because you have better things to do, I understand.
Maybe I just have to pee because I'm old.
Yeah. One thing it's great if you can put yourself in a position to where if you need help, I found like when I've needed it, if I can help somebody else, it does something for me. It helps me. Then there's so many
Mm-hmm.
organizations out there. You've mentioned, several, but get involved. Get involved like with the American Legion. It's not just like, your grandfather's organization or anything like that. There's so many young people now like getting out of service and looking for something to be part of. Like I was saying earlier, like to fulfill that camaraderie or to fulfill that void that I didn't
Yeah.
have anymore. Um, and American Legion. If it's not that, figure out your volunteering, whether it's Team Rubicon, whether it's DAV, whether it's at Educate Yourself. So many programs, throughout the universities that are for veterans. Another great friend, Robert Graves, who's been in the academic area, went from DAV and now he's over at Cal State Northridge helping out
Mm-hmm.
veterans, figure out their path. It's like, I want to figure out how to, send people to, these areas and to continue building platforms to where we can continue helping each other. United, we stand, divided, we fall, right?
Exactly.
So when we unite and we're all on the same page versus trying to compete all the time or trying to be more famous than this guy or get more camera time or dog this other guy's book or whatever like that, all we do is fall. When we can uplift each other and be those balcony friends that are shouting from up above and support and get involved in these organizations, everybody wins.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, man. So, kind of in closing here, I think an important thing we need to look at in your story is that like you were willing to live in a van down by the river, do what you needed to do to reach.
Literally live in a
Yeah,
van. Yeah.
I know we're not joking here. I mean, we're joking, but it's real life. And
This is whatever it took, man.
yeah, whatever it took to get what was important to you and do the career that like was exciting to you. And that's so cool to not do something just for the money. I think it's okay to do stuff just for the paycheck sometimes, but it's so cool to be able to do something else. And just not giving up, man. And I hope people take that from this story. They get a lot of good insight in the backside or behind the scenes on like what it's like making TV shows and movies, and been really interesting. And um, hearing about veterans in that industry and all that, it's been really cool. And yeah, like get out there, don't give up, and just use those skills that you've learned. And so, in closing, make sure if you're interested in any of this that you've heard, go to Bunker Dash Bro.
Yeah.
We've got all of our podcast episodes there. We're on YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff. And then, if you're willing to help in the app we're building, you can donate on our website. And let's go just make the world a better place for our brothers and sisters that have served the country. So thanks
Yeah.
everyone for listening. Weston, so good hanging out in front of everyone. We'll hang out together
And
soon. So
I love total privilege and honor. You're you're salt of the earth, man. You are as genuine as people come. I often say this, not to your face, but to many others. You are a stellar individual, and I'm a better person for being able to call you my friend. So thank you so much for having me on. And if any of your listeners whatsoever, you see there is if you're watching this, you see there is an IG for me on there. If for some chance you're as crazy as me and you think that the arts, the film, television, media, whatever, is of interest to you as you transition or while you're in or whatever like that, or you just want to make fun of me, hit me up. I'm happy. I love helping out anybody that has any questions, especially if you're a veteran and you're trying to get into this industry. Happy to tell you, where the potholes are and help out. And then
Heck
hopefully
yeah.
I'll see more of you on set. And Eli, once again, brother, thank you so much for having me on. I'm just going to put this up as one of the highlights of my career.
All right, thanks, man. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. Love you, brother.
Incoming, incoming, incoming.